Today's latest Climate Central report reinforces sea level rise is a significant danger to millions of acres of U.S. coastline. That includes some of our key military installations, potentially putting our national security at risk. So let's bring in Erin Sikorsky, Deputy Director for the Center for Climate and Security. Erin, thanks for being with us. Let's talk about which coastlines in particular and which bases in particular, and what would be the timeline for some of these places. I think about like maybe a Norfolk or Hawaii or San Diego or naval bases. What would be the threat there?
Sure. No, thanks for having me. So actually, there are 2,000 U.S. military facilities around the world that are on coastlines. And some already are facing risks from sea level rise, from more extreme weather events. You mentioned Norfolk, which is the largest naval base in the world. There's also Parris Island in South Carolina, where we train our Marines here in the United States, which faces what's called sunny day flooding due to the tides. Even a few years ago up in New Jersey, there's an ammunition base, Naval Base Earl, that is central to U.S. military. That was destroyed in Hurricane Sandy. So it's really, I mean, you put your finger down on a coastline anywhere around the United States or around the globe, and you're going to find some U.S. military facility that is at risk.
And it's not just those on the coastline. I understand a lot of these interior bases are also susceptible to their own climate risk, particularly flooding.
Absolutely. We saw in Nebraska, Offutt Air Force Base a few years ago, had extreme precipitation that led to flooding there. That's home to STRATCOM, which is an important part of the U.S. military. And you can look at what happened in Europe this summer with rivers drying up as well. So instead of flooding, it's actually lack of water due to climate hazards such as drought that make it hard to move things, right? I mean, the Navy, the U.S. Navy, militaries around the world rely on ships for logistics, for strategic advantage. And if you can't get those ships into port because of flooding, or you can't move them down a river because of drought, that affects your military capabilities.
So what is the military doing at this point, Erin, and how quickly do some different installations need to act?
Sure. Well, the glib answer is they needed to act yesterday. Right. Again, you can point at Norfolk Naval Base, which has actually been doing a really important project to shore up its facilities and infrastructure against flooding. And next summer, they're planning to complete this major project. But that project was started 10 years ago. And so if the military wants to get ahead of these crises at other bases, they need to start ASAP. The good news is, the military branches, the Army, the Navy released climate strategies earlier this year. The Air Force is set to release its strategy in the coming weeks, I believe. And so those strategies help them move forward on tackling some of these issues. The president's budget request included significant funding for climate resilience for the military. And there's been bipartisan support in Congress to move these issues forward because lawmakers know it's critical to the military being able to do its core mission, right? Protect and keep Americans safe. And they need the funding to do that. But they need to move very quickly because, as you well know, these extreme weather events, these hazards are coming more intensely and more quickly than even scientists predicted. So we don't have any time to waste.
And then in dealing with these, so many times when we talk about climate, people say, how does this impact me? Kind of that, why should I care? How concerned on a national security level should we be about the susceptibility of these bases?
Sure. Well, again, these bases are critical to military training, for example, right? Or logistics, or being prepared in case we need to deploy forces somewhere in the world for a key U.S. national security concern. And any time that is spent managing a climate hazard, having to shut down facilities due to extreme weather events or, say, fires in California or the West, it's time not spent on other critical issues, and that affects Americans. I will also say the U.S. National Guard is a key component of the U.S. response domestically to climate hazards, and the number of hours that National Guard members have spent responding to wildfires, responding to flooding, has just gone through the roof in recent years. And so if Americans want the military to be able to show up and help them, we need to be prepared.
Well, Erin Sikorsky, Deputy Director of the Center for Climate and Security, we appreciate your time. Thanks for the insight.
Thanks for having me.